Hello everybody and welcome to our Howard Arkley House Photoshop tutorial. Okay, so on the screen at the moment you can see a whole lot of examples of Howard Arkley's artwork, and you can see how bright and colourful and vivid everything is, and you can also see a few patterns in little bits and pieces, particularly here with this brick wall and a little bit on the grass. So the first thing we need to do, obviously, is get onto Photoshop. So I go to my search feature. Okay, so we're going to go to our search feature, and that's over here. So with mine, I have to actually pick up search, but you'll find that you'll see a magnifying glass. In that, you will type in Photoshop. And there we have it. So it just depends what version of Photoshop you actually have in your computer. Mine's the latest. It's Photoshop 2022. So I'm going to click on that. And after a time, you'll see that it'll pop up on your screen. So sometimes it takes a little while, sometimes it takes a little bit longer, depending on the processor and what's going on at school on that particular day. All right, so what you'll find is there'll be probably the last project that you did. So just sitting on the front page there as you turn it on. If you click on your files, you'll see that it'll show you the latest files. So I've been doing a little bit of experimenting with houses, things like that, so that's why you can see this. But what I want you to do is I want you to go to New File. So click on New File. And then what will happen is after you click on New File, you will see that there's Recent and Saved, Photo and Print. We want to click on Print because I'll be printing out your lovely artwork. When we click on print, you'll see that there is letter, legal, tabloid, and A4. We don't want any of those. We want to view all presets. We actually want A3. When you click on A3, you'll see that there's this little symbol here, which is a person standing up. That's portrait. We want landscape. Then after that, the resolution will be at 300. 300 is actually quite large, and what will happen is it'll make our computers lag a lot. So if we make it a little bit smaller, 150 pixels per inch, that'll be just fine for printing and will still be high quality. So I'll click on Create Next. Here we go, and that is our canvas. That's where we're going to be doing our work. Now you can see here that I've already opened up a few things. I've got my layers and paths already open in here. You need to make sure that you've got that available to you as well. In order to see those, you'll go to Layers, and suddenly we see here Layers. And you'll also make sure that Paths is available to you, so Paths. So the easy way to do this is just go either Layer, Paths, I give it on Layers, or you can click here, Paths, Layers. Either way is just fine. So at the moment, we've got a page that has just white on it. I might actually zoom out a little bit for that so that we can see the whole page. All right, now, I obviously want to do a house, and in order to trace my house, it's good to have a house in the background. At the moment, we've just got the white paper, so I would like to put my house there. Now, if I go over here, you can see here I've got a folder already made up for myself. You boys would have saved your house somewhere, and you know, it doesn't really matter which house you grab. I've got a whole lot of things obviously stuck in my folder, but in yours you will find that it's in the collaborative drive, or you would have actually saved it onto your own personal computer. All right, so going through, what I'm trying to find is something that's quite nostalgic, something from, say, the 50s. You may well have taken a photo of your house and it's very nostalgic, or perhaps you've searched on the internet to find a house. All right, let's have a look at this one here. So it's in the folder. I've opened up the folder. I'm going to now drag and drop. So I dragged it out of the folder, and now I'm dropping it. So you can see here that there's some little bars that you can be pulling to make this larger. And you can also see that there's a cross. That's because it hasn't officially been actually inserted into the Photoshop document yet. So I'm just going to drag that. Now, if you drag this above there, you can see that it's going to fill up the page. And I don't really care about the other parts. I actually think that this is all very exciting and interesting, so I'm not worried about the left or the right. Now, when I did my searching for my image, I made sure that I actually searched for a large image on Google. Okay, so you can see there that I've just clicked on the Move tool, and now all those bars have disappeared. So here we are on our Google search, and what I searched for was Australian house 50s, and you've got some interesting looking houses here. So if you go to your images and you go to tools, you can see here that there is a thing called size. I need to make sure that that is set to large, because otherwise what will happen is I'll get a whole bunch of houses, and when I drag it into Photoshop, it'll be quite pixelated. The better the quality, the better your work will be. So you go ahead and you try and find something that you think's adequate. This one is a ripper. That one's a good one as well. Continue to look. That one's a lovely one. This one's beautiful as well. All those ones would be perfect. Just pretend I picked that one, have a look at that one, she's a beauty. And then I would right click, and obviously I would save that image. Okay, save it in the folder so that you can find it very quickly and easy. I've got a folder called A Nostalgic Look at Australian Suburbia Files. Got lots of other things in there. I should probably make a new folder and call that folder maybe something like, Australian homes or house. Okay, so here we have our house, and the first thing we need to do is to make sure that this layer here is locked. So we grab the padlock, and the reason why we do that is because we don't want the house to be moving when we start drawing over the top of it, and we want to make sure that we've got separate layers. So over the top of that, we're going to go to this little plus sign here next to the bin, and that plus sign will give us a new layer. So there's a new layer. Double click on that new layer, just on the actual word layer 1, and you're going to call this sky. We always start with the background first, what's behind the house, and then we move forward on the plane. Okay, so we need to make sure that we are turning on that layer, which is called sky, and we'll get our pen tool. Now, when we get our pen tool, we'll notice that there's a few different things that have come up. So one of them is path. Now you can go shape, path, pixels. For this activity, we're going to make sure that we keep it on path, because I know previously I've asked you to go to path and shape because we were practicing how to use a pen, but this time we're going to keep it on path. What we want to do now is draw over the top, and I'm not interested in this roof over here, and I am going to draw over the top of this tree a bit. We will actually come back over the top and fix that later, but for now we're just going to basically make a very simple shape that's going to go all the way like that. Okay, now to fill that, we have to actually go back to our paths. So we've got paths here, and you can see that there is a copy of what I've just done here, which is called the work path. Now over here, I want to colour this guy a nice blue, a sky blue, but just a plain colour. And then I'm just going to go OK. Nothing has happened because I need to now go over here. This one is for the stroke, to colour the actual line, and this one over here is to colour the sky. So you can see here now we have coloured the sky. Okay, so here I am, and I'm searching for Photoshop Patterns Free. Photoshop Patterns Free download .pat is probably the best one. And we can see here that there's some places that you can get them from. So let's have a look at this one. Vector HQ. And there's a few different patterns in here. Subtle pixel patterns that will give your site or application the design you like. You can see down here that there's some similar graphics that you can play around with. So we'll just download this one. Download the file. What we want to do is maybe make a folder called patterns. Nice if I can spell. Okay, patterns, and hit save. Now I'm going to go show in folder because this one has just come in as a file that's been compressed. So I can use my WinRAR or any other sort of application that helps me extract it. So I'll extract here. And there you have it. That there is the PAT file. Okay? So with that PAT file, I can easily use that in Photoshop. So if I open up my Photoshop and I click on my patterns, right, and I go to my 3 bars, 4 bars, and I go import patterns, and I go to the place where I downloaded that. It'll be this one here that's got the FX and the PAT file. Click on it, load, and we should see it right down there, down the bottom, and we can see that there's some just very subtle patterns that you can use when you use your layers. So if you go to your layer, layer style, pattern overlay, you can get access to that. Okay, so we've finished our sky. Now you need to make sure that it is locked. Okay, so that's unlocked and this is locked. So now that is locked and we can create our next layer, which is going to be this roof. Now I can't see the whole roof there because remember we drew slightly over the top of the roof. So I'm just going to turn that off now so that I can't see the sky anymore, and I'm going to create a new layer. On top, I'm going to call this layer roof. There we go. Okay, so with this layer now turned on, I'm going to go ahead and get my pen tool. Remember it's set as path, and I will probably start here on the corner, leaving the gutter, bit of the gutter. I'm going to simplify the shape just slightly so it doesn't have so many details. And there we have it. We have our path for our roof. Okay, so now remember what we need to do is at this point is to go to the brush tool. Now I've already set up my brush tool and I've made sure that it's 10 pixels and the hardness is about 39% because what I want is to give it a spray paint look. I don't want it to be a really hard, so you know, softer that way, harder that way. And then I'm going to go to my paths and you can see that there's a brand new work path, which is this one here. So this one will actually be called roof as well. And what I want to do is I want to give this an outline. Now when I click on that, you should see, yes, an outline. Also, what I would like to do is give this a color. Now, if you go over here and just make sure you're not clicked on that roof at this point because otherwise you'll be changing some things. So just make sure that you've got the roof set here, set it on black, okay, and then click off. And then what we want to do is with the roof turned on, so the roof turned off, we want to double click here, nice color for our roof, and that's, make sure we click on there, and there we go. So we've got our roof there. So once again, turn it on, Turn it off. We click on the black here. We click on our roof. Now we've got the outline. We want that on black. Okay, we've got a black. So you just need to make sure that when you're clicking on it, that you have your outline and your inside different colours. So now we have our roof. Now that's a bit boring at the moment. So what I would like to do is add a pattern. So I'm going to go in here, layer, layer style. I'm going to go to pattern overlay, and you can see that it's already got a pattern set. So let's go and find something that's a bit more interesting. And I've got one called tile patterns that I'm going to ask you to load into your patterns. And you can see that this one's got some love hearts on it. And I'll go OK. And here we see that there is some patterns there of the tiles. It looks a little bit like tiles, even though it's got love hearts on it. That works quite well for what we're doing here.